I want to talk to you about the messy middle. It's that point in our paintings that we reach, and either they're really ugly and we don't know what to do with them, or we really like a lot of what's going on and we don't want to lose that in order to move the painting on. I did this for years, and I'd find that my paintings would just stockpile in my studio. And over the years, I worked out some really good, simple ways to move my paintings forward. And I really want to share those with you so you can use that in your work. Okay, as you can see, I have a painting which is not really going anywhere. It's been sitting in this state for a while, so I thought it would be a good one to use as an example of putting some icing on the top. Because for me, there's just a little bit too much going on and I have no direction going. So what do I do when I get to this stage? There's lots of color, there's lots of marks, but it's just nowhere. And there's no real direction. So what I do at this point often is I glaze. So I choose a color or a couple of colors and I go in hard. So I've got some glazes. Now glazes are basically transparent paints. So we have our opaques and we have our transparents. And you can usually tell these by a little square or circle on your paint tube. And if it's clear, then it's a transparent paint. If it's half and half, then it is somewhere in between. And if it's completely covered in, then it's opaque. And I love equally each one of them, but for different uses. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of ones that I use to really send my painting somewhere else. This one here is Nickel Azure Gold from Golden. It's really, really cool for just really making a big difference in a painting. So I might choose a spot and go in hard. Just to kind of give the painting something. I'm just trying to give it some direction. And what I love about glazes is that they go over the top without losing all that beautiful history. So now I've still got all the marks happening in the background that I did have, but all that mess of color has been kind of brought together. And that to me is just such a good way to give composition and to give direction, because now I have something I can work with. The painting's kind of been sent somewhere else. I might bring another one in just to kind of add more depth. So this is a combination, this one here, this dark color. It's a combination of a few colors. It's got a blue, a manganese blue. It's got a azure crimson hue and a little bit of the green gold, because I knew that I had those colors underneath, so I knew that they would somehow work. And I'll add these ones in somewhere just to kind of give my painting a little bit more shape. But as you can see, like from where I was, even just doing these few small things with glazes, I've taken the painting from somewhere that I had no idea where I was going to now I've got at least something interesting that I can follow. I'm going to give you another example of this. I'll take that one away and I'll bring in this one. Now this one is a huge mess. As you can see, I've kind of scraped and I've done lots of different things on it. But it's really going nowhere. So I'm going to, again, at this point, I just want to do something dramatic. So I'm going to grab my fluorescent pink. I'm straight out of the tube onto the painting. Again, it's a transparent paint. But what I love about it is it will do something fairly dramatic without losing all of the history I had underneath, but giving it a little bit more of a direction for me to follow. Now, just because I'm going so hard with this colour does not mean that it's going to end up being everywhere, but it just brings the painting into a place that I think, oh, okay, that's just so much more exciting for me now. Like, I instantly want to do more to this painting just because of those really bright marks. So I'm also going to come in a little bit over the top. This is also a glaze. It's transparent quinacridone magenta, which honestly is one of my faves. Just going to bring it into a couple of areas. So I'm going hard on the pink with this one, but you know, it's a favorite of mine. And if I don't know where I'm going, just to really pop the painting somewhere and give it some direction and excitement that makes me want to come back and do more, that's a really quick way for me to do it. So that's 2 glazes that I've used now in that way. I'll bring on a third painting. This one has a little bit more direction in there. Like, I actually don't mind where this one is. I just want to give it something more. So I'm going to just go a little bit deeper in the parts that have some deepness, just to liven them up a little bit, like here. So it's still a glaze. So as I say, it will still kind of keep that beautiful richness of all the texture and marks and history underneath, but it will just give it a little bit more pop. Now this is the manganese blue that I mentioned before, that's actually in that colour as well. But I just want to give the painting something. So I'm going to bring it in the side, and I'm going to kind of bring it into here as well. And so that's just another way that I can kind of bring something more interesting over the top when the painting's just not quite there, and I'm not sure if I can take it anywhere. So this is a really good go-to, these glazes, as a way to revive a painting that may have been sitting around in your studio for a while. You've got to make a big, bold move on these things, otherwise they just sit in the same place as they were. So I just kind of go hard with glazes and see what I can do with them before I do anything else. So there you go. I'm just putting a little bit of that magenta in just to bring some life into that middle area. So I hope that helps. That's my one of my top tips for getting past the messy middle and taking your painting somewhere else.